So I've been thinking a lot about this possibility of a societal meltdown and a total government and infrastructure collapse, and how that might look. I've been reading some books just recently. I'm listening to the Dark Autumn, and thinking about that all in light of some of our recent escapades. We took my wife's food trailer and went down to North Carolina and helped in a disaster area there for about a month. We were serving food right down there near Black Mountain, between Black Mountain and Swannanoa. And been thinking about what I saw over there, and I have been to some other disaster areas, and comparing that to what I always hear people say, what life in America would look like if there was a total collapse of the infrastructure. And I'm not sure we're getting it right. I just don't think we are. Now, it's anybody's guess, because we've never been through something like that. And I know there's other countries that we can look to for examples of what happens when all of a sudden there is a societal collapse or a infrastructure collapse, and some of those have been horrific, some haven't been so bad. But I think we need to rethink this, especially as Christians. We're always looking at, so often I hear in the prepper circles, I hear things like, you're going to have to stock up on ammo and stock up on guns and all your, have your bunkers and be ready to hunker down. And I was amazed at what I saw there in North Carolina. So when that went down, and as many of you know, that is way worse than the news is letting on. Most definitely the body count is in the thousands. But anyway, that's another story. So in talking to the local people there, I saw something amazing. And it's somewhat of an inspiration to see that humanity hasn't quite went downhill as far as we think it has. Those people, some of them didn't even realize how bad the disaster was until a day or two into it, because they couldn't get out. There was no road you could go over a quarter mile on anywhere in those mountains. There was trees down all over, mudslides, river flooding. It was total chaos. But in some of those towns, they talk about how that within 24 hours, no electricity, no water, local restaurant owners opened up their restaurants, drug their grills out onto the sidewalk, and invited people to bring whatever they had from their pantries, and they started grilling and making food there. They had gas, I guess, and so they did what they could, and they improvised. The biggest thing is that they improvised, and those people helped. They gave people the shirt off their backs, literally. There was people that were literally giving somebody clothing that they really couldn't afford to give away. And as we worked alongside them there, so many of the volunteers we served, come to find out, were victims of the very disaster itself. Their house had been washed away, and they were living in a tent, and they had lost their job, but they felt called to help their community, and so their focus was on helping their community. They were getting fed by other volunteers. They were living in a tent or living in some camper or whatever they could find, and they worked for weeks there. Many people like that, and it was just inspirational and amazing. And now, true, in some maybe more gang-ridden areas of the metropolitan areas and stuff like that, the United States, I'm sure things would go down into chaos pretty quickly. But I don't think we're going to see that everywhere. I really think what we need to do is capitalize on the goodness of what's left in the goodness of humanity. And so when we are thinking about preparing for these kind of scenarios, I think it would be very, very important or very, very advantageous to focus on infrastructure building, networking, and things like that, so that we can be little beacons of light in maybe little rural communities that can quickly show the rest how that they can pool their resources together and start to build back their infrastructure in whatever primitive way they can, so that everybody can benefit, rather than one family having their own bunker and letting everything go to hell up top, you know. And I think it's a misconception about humanity, and it's a misconception about what our focus should be as a Christian also. So anyway, I don't discount that we need to help each other out. I mean, that we need to take care of our own families and all that. I'm not saying we shouldn't. Our families are first, but I think it would be so wonderful if we could, if people that were forward thinking about these kind of possibilities of chaos, if they would start to network more and build a potential infrastructures. Like, do we know people here who have trucks here that can haul supplies, or do we have doctors and hospitals on call that in local little towns that can do what big hospitals can't because their infrastructure is down? And so many things like that. Farmers and their cattle, how can we make sure that they get grain to their livestock or whatever they need, so that they can continue to provide? And then can we get the meat and the milk and so on into local areas, so that these farmers, their product can continue to be utilized? There's so many things like that I think would be so much more beneficial than a bug out bag in a bunker.